The appalling discovery of 60 bodies in a closed South African gold mine underscores not just the harrowing conditions of illegal mining in the region, but also the grotesque socio-economic realities enabling such tragedies. This is not merely a story about a mine collapse or criminal activity. It is a window into systemic failures, both local and global, that perpetuate cycles of exploitation, corruption, and negligence. Labeling these workers as illegal miners strips away the nuanced understanding of why such practices thrive. South Africa, endowed with one of the richest mineral deposits globally, paradoxically suffers from staggering unemployment rates, economic inequality, and systemic corruption. The so-called zama-zamas, illegal miners, are often individuals with no other means of survival, compelled to risk their lives for a chance to feed their families. The term illegal dehumanizes them and shifts the focus away from the exploitative structures that have left them with no alternative livelihoods. The mine was reportedly closed, but how does a closed mine become an epicenter for such activity? This tragedy exposes glaring gaps in mine security, the responsibility of mining corporations, and the oversight failures of South African authorities. Mining companies reap immense profits but often fail to invest in safeguarding abandoned sites. These entities are quick to divest from operational accountability while continuing to benefit from an industry built on cheap, exploited labor. Similarly, the South African government has shown a profound lack of resolve in addressing this issue. From weak regulation enforcement to failing to provide economic opportunities in mining-reliant regions, its inability to create meaningful change speaks to a broken system. The lack of proactive measures, such as rehabilitation of closed mines or transitioning communities away from mining dependency, is a gross dereliction of duty. This tragedy cannot be divorced from the broader global appetite for gold. The metal extracted from South African mines, legal or otherwise, feeds into international supply chains, eventually adorning the wealthy in the form of jewelry or sitting in vaults as a supposed store of value. The global gold industry is notoriously opaque, with legitimate sources often intertwined with materials extracted through exploitative and dangerous practices. The international community, enamored by the gleam of gold, turns a blind eye to the suffering and environmental devastation that makes such opulence possible. South Africa's mining industry is often touted as a cornerstone of its economy, yet this progress has come at the expense of countless lives. The mine collapse is merely a recent chapter in the country's long history of mining-related tragedies. These deaths, preventable, predictable, and politically inconvenient, reflect the dark side of an industry that, while generating immense wealth for a few, leaves behind a legacy of human and environmental ruin. To honor the lives lost, this incident must be a wake-up call. It demands immediate and long-term actions. 1. Corporate responsibility. Mining companies must be held accountable for the security and rehabilitation of their sites, even after closure. Policies should mandate stringent measures to prevent unauthorized access. 2. Government action. The South African government must enforce stricter regulations, allocate resources for regional economic diversification, and provide support for marginalized communities. 3. Global responsibility. The international community, including corporations and consumers, must recognize their complicity. Transparency in gold sourcing, along with fair trade initiatives, should be a non-negotiable standard. 4. Economic transformation. Addressing the root causes of illegal mining requires tackling unemployment and systemic poverty. Investment in sustainable industries can provide alternatives for those currently trapped in mining's death grip. This tragedy should provoke outrage, not resignation. The 60 lives lost are a stark reminder of the human cost of greed, inequality, and neglect. South Africa's mining legacy has long been marred by exploitation, and without immediate, systemic change, such horrors will continue, until corporate greed, governmental apathy, and global indifference are uprooted, the cycle of death and exploitation in South Africa's mines will remain an unbroken testament to humanity's failure. Simba Mukasa, my independent commentary for Skillings Mining Review.